Hello, my name is Angelina Ruggeroli, and this is my dramatic interpretation. No one ever warned me about raising a boy. No one ever said be prepared for dirt, or buy extra band-aids, or don't paint your walls white. But that was all stuff I could have guessed. I could have guessed that a boy would be messy and rambunctious. I'm not stupid. I think the hardest part about raising a boy is, as he grows up, you watch him become a man, like his father. Let's be honest, he can't become a man like his mother. You only have a little boy for like 10 minutes, and then poof, he's the spitting image of your husband. He looks just like him, he acts just like him. How are you supposed to get boys ready for adulthood? It's like you get this gift from God for all of 10 minutes, and then they're all grown up and leaving the nest. If all you have is 10 minutes, how on earth are you supposed to get boys ready for life? 10 minutes. That's what it feels like. Sometimes it even feels like less. Evan. We named him after my husband's father. For those of you who don't have kids yet, that's often how choosing the name of an unborn child works. We had no idea there was anything different with our son until Evan was 3. He had always seemed withdrawn, but that's just something you can expect from small kids, right? It can be overwhelming, especially if you're an only child. It's perfectly normal to feel like this, right? Then one day I came to Evan's room. He looked up at me and he was terrified. He looked at me as if I was someone he had never seen before. I said, "Evan, honey, are you all right?" He just kept staring at me as if he was desperate for some indication as to who I was. Evan looked at me like that for a while, and then he said, Are you mommy?" I cannot describe to you the horror I felt at that exact moment. Evan didn't know who I was. I called him Bill, my husband, and Evan hesitantly guessed that he was Daddy. He then showed Evan pictures of people he saw every day or nearly every day. Nothing. He had no idea who any of those people were. We took him to see a pediatrician who referred us to another doctor who referred us to someone else who finally told us that Evan was face blind. Prosopagnosia is the correct scientific term. I had never heard this word before. Besides death, the worst thing for a parent to have to go through is having their child diagnosed with a physical or mental disability, which sometimes can be just as bad as death itself. In Bridget Shaeff's You Are My Sunshine, we get to hear of the emotional conflictions and sorrow that a mother goes through when her son is diagnosed with prosopagnosia, a rare condition where he can't recognize people, as you will soon learn. While watching, remember to count your blessings and to hold your loved ones close. Thank you. There is nothing more terrifying than a doctor telling you that your one and only son has a mental disability. Apparently, Evan doesn't have the ability to recognize faces. Something in his brain just doesn't connect. He doesn't have the ability to recognize Bill as his father. He doesn't have the ability to recognize me as his mother. He doesn't have the ability to recognize me as his mother. We hired a specialist to work with Evan. She quizzes him on faces. She'll show him a picture of his father, his grandfather, or his teacher. He's supposed to pick which one is which, but he only gets it right 50% of the time. It's really just a game of guessing for Evan. If you're diagnosed with this rare psychological condition, you soon learn that nothing can be done. There's no drugs or surgery. What we must do with Evan is just to retrain this part of his brain. One day in one of his sessions, I was sitting in the room with him, and he couldn't pick out which of the two photos was me. He was so frustrated. So was Bill. Who am I kidding? So was I. He doesn't say it, but I feel like Bill somehow thinks this is his fault. Like somehow he's responsible. How could he be? I was the one who carried Evan inside of me. I fed him with my body. How could it be anyone's fault but mine? Doctors keep telling us that no one is at fault. That it was at random, an anomaly, and it couldn't be helped. How could it be anyone's fault but mine? Prosopagnosia is dangerous. Incredibly so. At school, Evan's teachers teach him about stranger danger. But we have to teach him to be even more skeptical, to be even more cynical. Yeah, sure, Evan could be fine, but then one day, he could be walking on the street, and someone could come up to him, and he has no idea who they are. True, it's totally normal for Evan not to recognize them, but then some horrible person could... Well, it's horrifying to think of the possibilities. Evan could get in the car with someone, and we have to teach Evan to be cynical, and it's not an easy thing for you to have to look at your child and tell him that he has to be afraid, because there are some people in this world who could do him harm. Recently, Bill came up with a brilliant idea. It's a phrase, actually, and we say this phrase to Evan whenever he wakes up in the morning, or even when we're dropping him off at school. We sing the first line of the song, "You Are My Sunshine." When we sing this, Evan always knows it's us. Simple, really. One day, I took Evan to the mall. I needed new shoes, and I told him to stay right beside me. It was so crowded that day, we were bumping into people left and right, and when I reached down for his hand, Evan wasn't there. I started searching the crowd, I started looking and screaming, "Evan! Evan!" I ran to a security guard and I had him get onto his radio, and on the other end, he heard someone say that they found a little boy wandering around the mall without supervision. I practically grabbed the radio from the man and screamed, "Where is he? Where is my son?" They took me down a back alley and into a secret room. Well, secret as far as mall security goes. There was Evan sitting on a bench looking terrified. I bent down to him and I was practically in tears saying, "Oh honey, don't you ever do that again. Don't ever do that again." Evan looked up at me. And he didn't know it was me. He didn't recognize me, therefore he didn't trust me. I started to sing to him, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." And for a second, he didn't believe me. He didn't believe I was his mother. Then he grabbed hold of my neck and he just hugged me as tight as he could. I kept singing because it was the only thing I could do. "You keep me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much." The security guard told me that they had a tough time getting Evan to come with them. They said he kicked and screamed, and he didn't stop until they let him hold one of their badges. They tried explaining that they were only there to help him, but he didn't believe them. I explained to them Evan's condition, but none of them really seemed to understand. I teach my son to distrust the world. I teach him that to keep him safe. I teach him that because I love him. I only have 10 minutes before Evan grows up and becomes a man. And what kind of a man is he going to be? Is he going to be a man that looks around and only sees danger? That knows that he might never be safe, he might never be normal? When you're pregnant, people give you a lot of advice. But no one ever prepared me for this. No one.